So see, the thing about George is he is a grief educator. He's a counselor, but he also has like the biggest smile on his face. Because it's like you think of someone who's like a grief educator, he's gonna be like, "Hi, nice to meet you. My name is George." But you don't. You have like the biggest smile on your face. How do you keep that smile?
You know, that was my fear too when I first went into counseling. And I remember one of the things I didn't want to do was grief and loss. Because I was like, I wrote under my notebook journal, like, too depressing. Don't ever want to go there. But, you know, as I got into it more, I was working with clients and I realized I actually feel really good in this. There was a flow and almost like it stretches your bandwidth. You know, you do get very depressed, but you also can laugh quite heartily. You know, maybe it's a theater thing. I don't know.
So you came from theater because I definitely know your face, right? Yeah, because you've been in this biz for a very long time as well. And then you made that pivot, right? Because when Mr. Miyagi was like, okay, I am the writer.
Yes.
And then now it's like, okay, now I'll manage. I will direct all creativity. You know, the creative director of this thing. And then for you, it's like, okay, I come from entertainment world. I come from this background where I'm in front of an audience all the time. But now my audience is just one person in a room and on the couch, and I'm here to talk about your life and offer you some insight and advice.
Yeah, it's bizarre. So while my friends are kind of transitioning from their 9-to-5 job, corporate work, into arts and theater, you know, for me, I'm kind of like moving away from it, but it's for the same reason, really just looking for something with a deeper meaning.
And what would you then say to the artists specifically, and it may sound like a very niche thing, but I feel like everyone's in this in some way, shape or form, whether you're a content creator, photographer, whatever, right, where you love being an actor, for example, and they tell you like this is the only thing you can do actually. Once you're out of entertainment, that's it, you can't find a job. Like, what would you say to that? Because sometimes it can feel like you're living in a bubble, you know?
Well, I would say change is good,
Yeah.
you know. And for me, I guess for the longest time, I felt comfortable, you know, very comfortable in what I'm doing. But there came a time where I just felt like I needed more. You know, I always remember when I was younger, I volunteered a lot, you know, and, you know, I walked out of the old folks' home, the geriatric hospital, I had a spring in my step. You know, I remember those feelings. And as I get older, I kind of wanted to go there again.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Because people would think the opposite. People would think, okay, someone's a grief educator and then wants to go into theater. But then yours is like the flip side. It's like, I've done all that big glamorous stuff and I know what it's like, and now actually I want something a lot more intimate.
Yeah, but it's also very similar because it's all about storytelling.
There you go.
You know, when we're on stage, it's about when the audience watches us, they kind of see themselves in us, the story. You know, it's the same. Now I'm with the client, I'm just helping them tell the stories.
More with George Chan and Mr. Miyagi. On your way with Joshua Simon.
He always says,
I like that. Maybe a flash mob. I don't know.
yeah, could be.
And George Chan here has left sort of the entertainment world and is now a counselor, a grief educator, and breathwork coach. Ben, you were kind of telling me earlier on how that reaction was like for you as a friend when you learned that he wants to step away from the spotlight and go into grief educating.
Yeah, and I told him I'm not surprised. And he was a little bit surprised that I said that. And I said, everything that you've been doing in your career, actually the skills that you have there, it makes complete sense because the body doesn't lie. And when you're talking to somebody about grief, they might be telling you something in words, but when you look at their body and their body language, it's saying something else.
Woo!
Yeah.
That is so true. I never knew that. I guess when I did the transition, I told myself I'm going to leave theater behind, like enough, you know, try something different. And then after I graduated with my master's of psychotherapy, I was like looking back and go like, you know, when I was practicing, theater really was that blueprint. It was always there, you know, informing me. And you're right, you know, talking therapy, we call it counseling, but a lot of times we also tap into the body, you know, looking at the breath and see how else we can use as a portal to kind of communicate.
And of course, for anyone listening right now thinking, like, why are we talking about grief over Christmas festive season? You know, for many, many years, actually, Christmas was a very, very difficult period. Actually, probably the hardest period of the year, right? And it's because I think the surrounding is so joyful and merry. So if you're not feeling joyful or merry, or if you're going through something right now in your life, it makes it very suffocating. It makes it feel like you're on your own and everyone is taking photos with their family and then you're all by yourself. So actually around Christmas time, that's when I encourage all of us to really pay attention to your mental health, to really take a step back, breathe out a bit, and of course some insight from you would be really nice, George.
Yeah, you're right. I remember when 2018 was a terrible year for me. I kind of escaped Singapore and I went to Macau because I was just having multiple personal losses one after the other. And while I was there, you know, great contract, lots of happy people around me, but you just feel like this loneliness. It's called rational loneliness, where everybody loves you and they're happy, but you're just not. So it took me a long time to kind of step out of it. One thing is to really reach out for help. You're not an island of grief. Really reach out to people and talk about it. And I think it's just once your grief is being witnessed, being seen, being heard, that's when you can slowly step out of it. So
when I was going through a period of grief as well, I mean, the thing that maybe some can relate to is that grief is so personal, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And you also sometimes feel a bit protective of that. You're just like, I'm not going to tell anyone because no one's going to get it. Only I will get it. Only I will understand the pain. So how can anyone understand? So I will shut myself away from everyone else. So what would you say to the person who thinks that way?
I would say this pain will change.
That it is possible.
It will
right?
change. It won't stay forever this way, but we are not little islands of grief. We kind of have to open up, and allow people to come in and help us as well.
Yeah. You can't see this, dear listener, but I just want to point out George is telling us all this, and he's got this smile of like hope as well. He's being very hopeful for you.
We have to, right?
Yeah.
If the Pandora box kind of opens up, everything flies out. At the bottom of it is hope.
There you go.
It's always hope. And I tell my clients that too. I say, at the moment you can't see it, but hold it for you until you find it.
I adore that. George Chan on the show, also Mr. Miyagi. More with them in just a bit. You're on your way with Joshua Simon. On your way with Joshua Simon on Kiss 92. You know what's really wild? With us on the show, we have Benjamin Mr. Miyagi. Yeah, we know he's great. Okay, but then he also has brought along George Chan, right? And I'm looking at like the info about this George Chan, right? Counselor, grief educator, breathwork coach. It's like, okay. We will discuss all that later on. But in between the music and everything, he's telling me about the lives that he has led and lived through the years on stage. It's quite wild. Can you sum it up, please? Tell me things.
So I just told you, right? 3 decades of theatre and arts. So I went in 1996. I left Singapore to London. So I stayed up for 3 months and then just went couch surfing in London and auditions after audition. I got into Miss Saigon, and so that was my first musical.
So you were acting in Miss Saigon?
Yeah, acting, singing, dancing. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah,
yes, musical. So did that for a year, and then after that, I just hopped into different musicals. I did Chicago. I did Saturday Night Fever.
You did Chicago?
I did Chicago.
Who did you play? Mr. Cellophane?
No, I'm Asian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's very color casting back then. So I played ensemble, but there were only 8 guys. So we did that.
Do you still remember the choreo for like all that jazz?
I do. Because I mean, a while ago we did some master class and we did some 4C, so I was like, reliving the past. So I did that. I did Saturday Night Fever. Did Aida from Elton John, and that's why we spoke a bit earlier about Wicked, right? And I worked with the Wicked choreographer, the stage version, Wayne Cilento. Amazing guy. Just really tough though. Quite a slave driver.
I mean, those were the days.
Those were the days, right? Keeps us on our toes. So that I did that for 8 years. And I came back to Singapore, and I met Mr. Miyagi.
And then you became best friends. And look, they always tell us, respect your elders and everything. Like,
Oi.
No. I mean this in a very, very sweet manner. Like, anytime I meet someone who's just even a little bit older, who has lived a bit more life, like, I find all this very beautiful and fascinating, because these are all like stories I want to learn more about, because like you experienced all that pre-social media. And I mean, even talk about couch surfing in the 90s, like how dangerous that must have been. But you did that. Like, how bohemian was that, and cool to be a Singaporean musical theatre nerd and then flying around the world to do all these things.
I'm telling you, it's the recklessness of youth.
You need your flowers, man, as they call it in the Gen Z terms. It's like you need your like an award or something. Just
Is that what it's called now?
Yeah.
What was that?
You gotta get your flowers. We gotta give you your flowers.
Yeah.
Flowers.
As in your due credit.
Oh, I
Flowers.
see.
Yeah, you gotta get your flowers. That was very cool.
Wow. Okay.
Maybe
Something
this
new.
is it. Maybe this is it. Just like remembering and like recollecting the life that you've had so far.
Yeah, but this is all new because I just started Instagram like
yeah.
1.5 months ago. Sorry.
You just started.
I just started because now that I'm a counselor, I kind of have to, right? It's for work.
Yes.
So I just started my Facebook, my Insta, and my LinkedIn, and I don't know how to do it.
Well, now that we're linked up, I'll start sending you music. Beginning with Chapel Roan right now, Hot to Go on Kiss 92. I want to get to that, the breathwork part. What is breathwork?
Breath work. Basically, we're using breathing. Breathing is sort of like a grounding tool to kind of regulate a person when they are sort of like out of sync. So I use it, mainly what I do is therapeutic breath work. So there's quite a few schools out there. It can be like dynamic, like Wim Hof and all that. Yeah. So I kind of do something using therapeutic breathing to kind of regulate a person. So they're anxious, we bring them back to their center. If they're a bit immobile, if you lazy, then we kind of like use breath work to bring them back to the center as well.
Okay, to the auntie listening right now saying, you get paid money to tell people to breathe.
Yeah, amazing, right? I mean, we all know how to breathe. And that was my realization too, because I first started off with mindfulness for myself. I learned that quite a few years ago, and I just couldn't get into it. I just had such a hard time like thinking of nothing, or it feels quite tiring for me to every time to come back to my present.
Right.
I find it hard. But with breath work, I mean, we all breathe, as you said. So it's something there that I can latch onto. I can think about my breath. I can focus on my breath. I can slow it down. I can extend my exhale. I can hold my breath.
And that has an effect on your anxiety or whatever. So you're saying that if we just pause and we're conscious about our breathing and how we're breathing, and we sort of pivot our attention to it, right, and regulate it, that whatever that I'm stressed out about may actually kind of like fade away.
Yeah, it really does affects your nervous system, right? And breath is interesting. I mean, even as I'm talking to you now, we're all breathing unconsciously, but then we can also focus on it and control it. So we use it well, then we can kind of like, change our moods. I mean, I use it a lot before I go on stage. Yeah. Just to like get myself into a state of calm before I go on.
Yeah. I think everybody needs to be calm when George is around directing the show, but
I don't do it anymore though.
I had to bring it down.
Wait, hold up. Yeah, because actually, we learned that before he was a breath coach.
Oh no.
He was on Chicago, he was in Miss Saigon, he was in Aida.
Elton John's version,
Yeah, and I imagine in that industry is very cutthroat, very intense one. So Ben,
yes.
You said it was a very natural transition, okay, but is it quite funny at the same time to see him like really intense at work on stage and then suddenly switch to like deep breaths, everyone?
So conversely, right, the interesting bit about it is that we've known in theatre George to be very meticulous, right, George?
Oh.
Yes, very. He's nodding. How meticulous? Like, for example, I'm the writer, and I've written a line for an actor, and he's not satisfied with it. He asks me, from stage left to center stage, what are the words coming out of the actor's mouth? I need to know the pace.
Ooh.
That's how minute the detail has to be.
I don't remember that. I really don't.
So
I don't. You sure that was me? You sure it wasn't Hosanna?
It was you.
Oh.
It was you. Hosanna and I were like complaining. It's like, how the heck do I know how fast this person speaks? And that's why I'm getting to the point of breathing.
Okay.
Yes. So if from like 20 meters from stage left to center stage, how many words comes out? So I need to know the cadence. So you were looking at the steps that that actor was taking. And it had to match the cadence of his speech. And I thought that was brilliant because nobody had actually said that about to the writer as a direction.
Yeah. To kind of like pace that out, the rhythm of that delivery, right?
Yes. So that's why when he said breath work for his counselor, I thought, hey, that makes sense. You would be very good at it.
He's so ahead of his time.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. Well, and in defense of George, I think he also, it's because he cares so much about the production. That's why he cares about all the details. He wants it to be perfection. Because he knew, even then, that you were capable of it.
Yes.
I know. We're opening up for this creative box so that we all explore together. Right? You can tell me no.
Exactly.
But you're free to say no.
Now, if you'd like to connect with George Chan, once again, counselor, grief educator, and breathwork coach, be honest with yourself. If this festive period is really, really tough, hit him up at thisishowweheal.com.sg and his new Instagram. I heard his new one, right?
Yep.
We need to teach you how to have a better handle. This.is.how.we.heal.
Oh no, tell me how.
Very cute. And also, Ben, Mr. Miyagi Lee, come on, drop your socials.
Yeah, it's Miyagi-san and on Instagram and on Threads and on Facebook, I think. Yeah. Facebook for older people.
I'm not gonna put that part in.